W ostatnich 30 latach rozwojem silników
In the last 30 years, engine development has been practically fully determined by regulations regarding exhaust emissions.
toksycznych składników spalin.
8 years ago, we decided to organize a special conference during which we discussed these European and global regulations.
Seminarium.
This year we host
W
the
tym
next
roku
sixth
było
conference.
kolejne 6. seminarium.
The 6th International Exhaust Emission Symposium, organized by BOSMAL and PTNSS, took place on the 14th and 15th of June 2018 at BOSMAL in Bielsko-Biała, Poland. The title of the event was Trends in Automotive Emissions Legislation, Impact on Light-Duty Engine Development, Fuels, Lubricants and Test Methods, a global view with a focus on WLTP and RDE regulations.
This is the 6th International Exhaust Emission Symposium organized by BOSMAL in collaboration with Polish Society of Combustion Engines. We are hosting 120 participants representing 18 countries, almost 70 firms and institutions, research organizations and universities. The event shall build upon the success of previous symposia, but will include the very latest developments in the powertrain automotive field and their implication for industry, the environment and beyond.
Delegates from 16 European countries and the USA attended the event, which took place over 2 days. Delegates represented the European Commission, vehicle and engine manufacturers, oil and fuel companies, chemical and aftertreatment firms, test equipment manufacturers, research institutes, industry consultants and academia.
Ja uważam, że to jest w tej chwili jedno z najważniejszych naszych konferencji w Polsce.
I think that this is one of the most important conferences in Poland at this time, because many prominent specialists are concentrated in one place. So you can talk seriously about issues related to exhaust emissions and fuel consumption, exhaust systems or lubrication systems. It seems to me that such a symposium shows the latest trends in the development of engines, because one must be associated with the other. Therefore, attending various other conferences, I rate this conference very highly.
Tą konferencję oceniam bardzo wysoko.
The emissions regulations at the moment has been through a very intensive period with the introduction in Europe of WLTP and the RDE. But that intensity is actually going to increase a little bit more now with the introduction of the next regulation that's been coming into Europe, especially in the area of in-service conformity of the vehicles being tested more stringently than it has done in the past. Whether all of this is enough in the end to reduce the atmospheric pollution, that's another question. But maybe in the end it will require something major, like a tax incentive to remove all the old diesel vehicles in order to get the full effect and the full benefits of all these new clean vehicles which are coming into the market now.
So of course we're very much in favor of harmonization of vehicle emissions legislation, especially if that means that we're not in a race to the bottom, if it means that everyone adopts the state-of-the-art standards. In the case of European legislation, we're seeing interesting developments in Geneva. We're expecting that the RDE will become a global technical regulation in the future. We're working towards that, and we think that is a win-win situation. It's good for the environment because we will get a world-class standard for everyone, and it's also good for European manufacturers because they have been involved in the development of RDE from the beginning, and that is giving them a competitive advantage. So it's a great idea.
The conference program featured 5 thematic sessions, each with multiple presentations. The 5 sessions were entitled General Automotive Exhaust Emissions, CO2, greenhouse gases and air quality, including particulate matter, emissions reduction technologies and aftertreatment, test methods, laboratory-based and RDE PEMs, and fuel and alternative powertrains. The total number of presentations was 25 and the program included question and answer time following each presentation.
Yes, I think if we talk about future of mobility, we have now a very bad situation. So what we have on the street currently, and let's say is very well known under Dieselgate and having too much particulate and NOx, that's one issue, and we got discussion of ban of diesel, or ban of combustion engine at all. What is overseen is the combustion engine. We have the technology to make it clean. We only have to apply it. That costs some money, it costs some additional effort, but we can do it and we will do it. And the new legislation really enforces that it's done. So even with all the discussion, we can say that vehicles could be really so clean that it's good for the environmental and that we have zero to impact on our environmental conditions.
WLTP with the test mass low, while test mass high highlight a significantly higher CO2 emission with respect to...
So all the exceedances of emission regulation, particularly nitrogen oxides, are measured on the roadside. And so unless you reproduce those conditions of the traffic by the monitors, you're not going to have an explanation of why the emissions are so high, or you won't be developing the correct solution. So that a lot of the work on RDE is done at the high speed end, which may be valid for fuel economy, but actually nobody's got a roadside monitor at the high speed. The lower speed boundary effectively cuts out making measurements in the worst congested traffic, so that we might not be actually getting technology developed that will solve the problem of high level emissions at the roadside.
Regarding future particulate regulations, my guess is that it will be extended to other technologies. The lower size will drop below 23 nanometers, and most probably the limits will also decrease.
Regarding the gap, what are the sources we can?
DPFs are incredibly good levelers for fuel properties. I think one of the very interesting areas is now gasoline. We know that gasoline particle filters are nowhere near as efficient in terms of collecting soot, and soot is very good at collecting hydrocarbons. So what we will be seeing is from gasoline, we'll have a lot more release of hydrocarbons that could potentially produce secondary organic aerosols. So I think if we're talking about fuel quality challenges in the future, I think gasoline is probably where the focus is going to be. Maybe we're looking at density and aromatics that can possibly lead to PAH formation in the atmosphere, but also oxidative species or species that can easily be changed in the environment by ozone and sunlight, things like alkenes. So I think there are definitely aspects of spark ignition fuels. So for example, a CNG type fuel that's using a compressor could be introducing oil, and that oil could be producing very small particles. So I think maybe if we're looking at fuel quality influences, in the future we're looking at spark ignition.
In Nissan, we think the after-treatment system for diesel applications is becoming more and more expensive, so we have decided to have two big directions, two big pillars in order to improve the emissions and therefore the combustion itself. First pillar is e-power configuration. With e-power we have a series hybrid system. According to that configuration, the engine is working at steady-state conditions, so we can optimize deeply the emissions and the combustion in this working point, and it makes a very efficient combustion and very low emissions release. And the second big pillar is concerning the VCR engine, the variable compression ratio engine, with turbo boosting as well, in which we can modify the conditions inside the cylinder by modifying the compression ratio, and therefore we can have a much better combustion in all the engine map and in all the conditions.
The trend in SCR technology is clearly to be able to perform well under all driving conditions. And for SCR technology, that typically means the challenge under low temperature conditions, where the conventional dosing of urea could be challenged. So there are basically two trends as I see it. One is to make sure that there's enough heat at the catalyst to enable the liquid dosing, or the alternatives which are coming up now, such as gaseous ammonia dosing, which can capture the benefit of the SCR without that fuel penalty.
The symposium also featured a social program consisting of coffee breaks with posters on display and industry booths, lunch and dinner at the end of the first day with musical entertainment. These provided excellent opportunities for socializing and networking. I think that the idea has been the same here for many years, because it is already the 6th symposium, and the issue of exhaust emissions is always the main topic. Of course, with the emission of exhaust gases, as I said before, the entire engine system is connected, because one cannot separate one part from the whole. At the moment, if for example we choose fuel, it must be related to fuel consumption in terms of durability, engine reliability, and it must cooperate with the lubrication system or with lubricating oils, and also with the exhaust gas after-treatment system. All this is comprehensive, and at this conference it has been wonderfully concentrated and summarized, and I have a very nice conclusion that the internal combustion engine has not died yet and will bring us enjoyment as drivers for a long time to come.
The overall technical message of the symposium is following. The modern internal combustion engines are very clean, or at least they can be. Some of the improvement we have seen has happened only in the laboratory. The technology exists to make this high environmental performance count in the real world. For the foreseeable future, internal combustion engines will be the main source of power of road transport. However, there remains scope for the improvements to engine itself in terms of emission and efficiency. Changes in fuel type and specification will help with this, as fuel can be sold off as powertrain component, along with lubricant and after treatment. The automotive industry is in the spotlight more than ever before. Politicians are watching us, and we have to rise to meet these challenges and provide vehicles which really are clean, efficient, safe to use, and fun to drive. Fortunately, we have some excellent tools available to help us.